Maybe you're settling back into the routine. Gregg Stebben is the editor of Men's Health magazine, and he is on the other end of our line this morning. Nostalgic for your school days, are you, Mr. Stebben?
I did have a good time in school, so yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Things have changed quite a bit now, though, haven't they? It was a little bit simpler when you and I were going to school, and now we have to be a little more maybe safety-minded and a little more conscious of our surroundings, don't we?
Well, I think that's true, and I also think, as we point out in an article in Men's Health, that the same old rule of be prepared applies today as it ever did, and on a family-wide basis that's really important. And we have tools now that enable families to be prepared in ways they couldn't when you and I were kids, starting with a digital camera. I mean, it's so easy today for a family to take a quick close-up picture of each of the kids and keep it digitally so it's easy to distribute if one of your kids is ever lost. And I'm not talking about the most extreme of circumstances, but they could be lost as part of a school field trip or on a scout trip or something. But it's so easy to get photos, keep them, and distribute them today that it's almost a shame not to conscientiously, every 6 months or so, take a close-up profile of each of the kids so if you ever were to need it, you would have it. Because if you didn't have it, boy, would you kick yourself if you needed it.
I guess it is easier to spread the word nowadays than it used to be, and even schools are using systems where they have texting and paging and Facebook and all that sort of thing for things as simple as snow days, as I understand.
Well, that's right, and the other thing that is around today that our parents certainly didn't have is, everybody's got a cell phone in their pocket, and that means that when there is a problem, it's so much easier to let parents know. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's not the parents of all parents. I mean, if there's a problem at school, and again, it could be a gas leak or it could be, a water leak or something like that.
Yeah.
But as families and as parents, it's so easy for us to really to follow the Scout motto, frankly, and be prepared. That here at Men's Health, we think that, just pointing out a few very simple, almost free things you can do to have the best possible record of your kids is smart. One is taking a digital picture. Another one is you see online you can have like kind of a child ID kit for each of your kids should you ever need it. But you can make one at home. You can get a record of dental records of each of your kids by just having them bite halfway into a styrofoam cup and setting that aside should you ever need it.
Why would you swab the mouth of your kids with a Q-tip and then seal it in a bag?
Well, that's a great way of getting a DNA sample of each of your kids should you ever need it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can pay a lot of money to do these things, but frankly, it's something you can do in 5 or 10 minutes with the entire family. And by the way, we're not only suggesting that you do this with the kids, but why not do it for yourself too? Make sure the family has a very clear photo of you, swab your mouth, get dental records for yourself using a styrofoam cup. It's so easy. Should you ever need it, it would be such a shame not to have it.
I'm not sure I want my DNA samples floating around necessarily myself.
Well, you can always lock them up in your own safe deposit box.
Okay.
I'll tell you, this really hits home for me. I mean, even after we did this story, a week ago, I was at a friend's house, and I got a text message from another friend, and he said, turn on Nancy Grace. And there on Nancy Grace was a story about a friend of mine who had disappeared. Now, she's since been found, but I think that if her family had been more prepared overall with these kinds of things, it might have enabled them to find her sooner. The good news is she's unharmed, but, this really could happen to anybody. And let's face it, the Scout motto of be prepared applies today as it ever did. And the worst time to think, oh, I wish I had done that, is when you need it, because then it's too late.
Well, nobody really wants to think about these things, you know what I'm saying, because they're just awful thoughts. But to be prepared, I mean, they do have fire drills, they have tornado drills, and when I was a kid, we used to climb under the desk because there was a nuclear disaster drill.
That's right.
Why not
and
be prepared?
That never happened, but it didn't invalidate the need for the emergency preparedness. Yeah. Another tip we think is really valuable, and this is really, you were just talking about your bridge event over the weekend. I wish we had talked on Friday, because here's a really great thing parents could have done. Before they left the house with the kids, taken a picture of each of the kids with their camera phone, so if one of the kids got separated and lost, not only do you have a picture of the child, but you now have an instant record of what the child was wearing. Yeah. So over the PA or the police can be not only looking for a child of your child's description, but in the red and white striped shirt or in the blue hooded sweatshirt.
Great ideas.
You as a parent might not have even remembered exactly what each of your kids was wearing, but you wouldn't need to because you would actually have a photo.
We'll read it in Men's Health magazine. Thank you very much for the warning, Gregg Stebben, and glad everything worked out well for you at 35 after this.